Okay, so I just finished with the writing sample. Was almost done with the video. Just want to make a quick little interjection. The audio on this is going to be not as good as most of my reviews have been recently because my computer just gave me a blue screen of death and restarted. I was literally just recording audio through my mic when this happened. I apologize for that immensely, I really do. However, I'm so far along in the review, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like it is. I may be able to recover the audio files. If so, you won't see this clip. If not, that's why this is here. Hey everybody, Jake here. And today it's time for the review, finally, of the Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl. It took me a long time to come up with my opinions on this pen just because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't influenced by any initial impressions. So it's been about 2 months since I've had it, which is quite a bit longer than I normally take to review a pen. I just really wanted to make sure that I would give you guys an honest, relatively unbiased review. All of these are biased because it's my opinion, but I try to do the best I can. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. We'll go over what I like, what I'm kind of neutral towards, and I only dislike one thing about this pen, but if you know anything about this pen, it's probably pretty obvious what it is. Let's go ahead and jump into it. On to the size comparison. So at the bottom we have the Pelikan M805 Ocean Swirl. Then we have the Lamy Safari, the Pilot 3776 Century, and then we have the Lamy 2000. Now, I understand that the Safari is a bit of an outlier here. It's significantly cheaper than any of these pens. It's the only one with a steel nib. The reason I included it, well, there's a couple. First off, it's a very widely used and common pen. Most people know exactly what a Lamy Safari looks like and maybe the relative size of it. And number two, they're very close in length. And a lot of other dimensions, thickness and things like that, not so much, but very close in length. So it's a little bit longer than all the pens on this table, but not by a lot. And the thickness is somewhat closer to the 3776 in terms of grip and everything, which I'll show you in just a moment. Now you can see when uncapped, it's still very close to the Lamy Safari in length overall. However, a large part of that is because of the nib. The nib size on these two are very, very different. So the Lamy Safari body is a little bit longer, maybe a quarter of an inch. Now the grip is somewhat similar to the Platinum 3776. It's a little larger, a little more comfortable in my opinion, but it's somewhat similar in size. However, this pen absolutely dwarves the 3776, and same the Lamy 2000. As the Safari, it's of a similar length, but a lot of that's due to the Pelikan's nib. So keep that in mind. The nib on this pen is very, very large, so your grip may be a little higher up than you're used to, depending on how far down you grip the pen. Insert size comparison joke here. No, but in all seriousness, I'm going to do something a little different. Normally I do something kind of humorous here. Can't think of anything at the moment. So I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to compare it to the only other piece of EDC gear related stuff that I use every day that comes close to this price. Actually, it's very close to the price. A little bit more expensive, but not like $5 or something like that, depending on where you get the Ocean Swirl. This is the Millet Torrent. This is a beautiful, beautiful knife, and is very well made. Same with the Pelikan. Beautiful, well made. However, I'm going to be honest with you. When you get up in this price range, at least to me, neither one of these feel like they're worth the money. They're very, very expensive. And I like them both a lot. There was closed and the open size comparison. This knife looks huge. It's not. It's really not. A very small knife. It's just the knives in comparison to pens are a little weird. But when you get up in this price range, you're paying generally that extra couple $100 for something special. So just keep that in mind as we're going through this review. Alright, on to what I like about the pen. So, as usual, I start off with the nib. I do love this nib, and it is a big reason why I bought this pen. It is extremely smooth, the flow is very wet, and the nib is gorgeous. So this is what a Pelikan M800 or M805 looks like, nib-wise. The M800 is going to be gold colored nib, but they're both 18 karat gold, which is 75%. This is a medium, And they're just beautiful, beautiful nibs. They're just gorgeous. Ink gets down in these swirls all the time. There is some in there now. I don't know how you can see it, but depending on the color that you're using, it'll really pop, especially if you're using something very bright and vibrant. Looks really, really good. This nib is fantastic. It is very smooth. It is very wet, and it's beautiful. It's very, very big. As you saw compared to the other pens, relative size, it's pretty large. Just to give you a quick comparison here, a little bit closer of a look compared to the Platinum 3776 nib, which is a little bit smaller than a number 6 size. You can see this nib is quite a bit larger. If I can get it to focus here, there we go. It's a little bit taller, a bit more wide, especially towards the bottom, and it's very, very springy. This is a very soft and flexible nib. It's not nearly as much as, it's not a flex nib by any means, but you can push some variation out of it, which I'll show you a little bit later. But it's a very large nib. I believe these are right around a number 6 size, but this one just seems to be a little larger. It could be my imagination, but it looks very big. Next is going to be the material. That is the other big reason. So between the nib and the material, those are the main reasons I bought this pen. So you can see it's this beautiful, beautiful blue swirl mixed with, it really isn't black. I'll try to show you in some still pictures. But it's a lot more of like a dark, dark blue, and it's kind of hard to capture on camera. A little bit easier on pictures, but there are no black spots on this pen, really. It's really just various shades of blue depending on what part you're looking at. So even if it looks black, once you get this in the bright light, you can see very, very well. But even when you're not in super bright light, you can still see there's a nice stripe on basically every... 50% of this pen is super bright, 50% is fairly dark. I like it a lot though. If the whole thing were bright like this, I wouldn't mind it, but I kind of like the contrast. But the material, the depth to it, it's just great. It feels fantastic. The pen is extremely well built, and it is beautiful. This is, by a pretty sizable margin, the best built pen that I've ever used. I have no complaints with build quality at all. The cap fits on very snugly. The piston's very, very smooth. It operates very well, holds a large amount of ink. The clip is fantastic. It's very springy. And also, as you can see, it is a Pelikan bill, which is the case on, I believe, all Pelikan pens. You have this lovely, lovely little Pelikan motif up top. You can tell this is a modern pen because it's just the one baby on there. Very hard to see, but it's kind of a silver with a kind of frosted silver to offset it. Little cap band here. This is more of like a blue-green color, and it says Pelikan, Souveron, and Germany. I'll try to give you a better look at the cap band here. It's a little easier with a lighter background. It is transparent, but it's just kind of a blue-green color. Looks very nice. So all the trim on this pen is in silver. They do not have an M800 option, so no gold. This is a special edition. I'm not sure if it's limited or not, but but it's nice. The accents of silver look very good with this pen. I think gold would look a little strange, but it depends on your tastes. The size and weight of this pen are amazing as well. It could stand to be a tad bit longer, gonna be honest with you, but other than that, it's perfect. One big reason why I didn't get the M600 or 605 is because of the weight. This pen weighs quite a bit more. You can look up specs for it, very easy to find. But that's because all of the internal mechanisms of this pen are metal. I'm assuming aluminum or titanium, one of the two, that is rust-proof, for lack of a better word. The internals of the 600 series and down are all plastic. So M800, M1000, and the M915, which you really don't hear about, are metal. So that adds quite a bit of weight to it. So if you don't like a heavy pen, I'd probably avoid these. This pen's pretty heavy. Again, exact specs, you can look it up, but it's a little heavier than the Lamy 2000. You would have probably imagined that a lot of the weight is in the back, but it's really not. It's pretty evenly distributed. So there, it has that going for it. Very balanced, very nice. The packaging on these are really nice. Very durable cardboard box and a little white leatherette pouch with a fake wax seal on the front. Standard Pelikan packaging, but you know, it's nice, especially if you don't have a case for your pens. Give you something to carry it in. The last thing that I like about this pen, in this list at least, is that the nib, it's ground in a very unique way. So this is a medium, as I said, but it performs somewhat similar to almost like an architect grind, but it's not sharp, it's round. However, when you flip it over and do reverse writing, you get a very stub-like, kind of a stub-like feel and a stub-like writing experience, which I will show you, a pretty decent example of it during the writing review. Onto the neutral. So first thing is that this pen, it will post. It very certainly does post. It posts fairly deeply. So you're getting about that much of the cap, so almost half. I do not like posting this pen, however, which is why I put it in the neutral, because I'm very paranoid about scratching up this beautiful, beautiful material. Don't want to do it. But you can post it. That is an option. And if you're worried about that, there's no real metal in this cap, so you're not going to scratch it up or anything like that. Probably, but I'd prefer not to run the risk. Also, when it is posted, the cap does backweight the pen quite a bit in combination with those metal piston parts and the metal clip and cap band and finial up here. It backweights the pen a lot. Not very comfortable when posted, but it does post deeply, and you can certainly do it. The next thing is the lack of ink window. There is no ink window in this. However, if you take a flashlight or your phone or some other bright source of light and hold it up, you can see through this. So keep that in mind. Bit of a pain, but if you really, really need to check your ink levels, do it. Hold a flashlight up on this side and then look right here and you'll be able to see the ink. You can also see the piston mechanism in the back. So this whole barrel is somewhat transparent at least, but not very much. It's kind of a pain. However, I'm kind of glad they didn't add it in, which is again why I put this in neutral. There's some good and some bad. I think it would interrupt the material a lot. Now, if they had put a clear section maybe right here where the cap were and made the cap threads see-through, I don't think that would be so bad. But if they had torn away part of this beautiful, beautiful material, I think that would have disrupted the look quite a bit. So I can't really blame them for that. But it is a bit of a pain when you consider that a lot of other Pelikan pens do have that ink window. And with this being a piston-filled pen, you can never really tell how much ink you have left in there. On to the dislike. There's only one thing here that I do not like about this pen, and it is the price. Pelikan pens, the few I held at the pen show, and this one that I've been using for a couple months now, seem to be very well made. They write exquisitely. I've heard a lot of issues about their nibs, but I haven't experienced any. They're very well made. This one at least is beautiful. The biggest thing is the cost of these. Now, I'm going to tell you the price of this, and I want you to keep in mind that this is after Pelikan decreased their pricing. I got this pen from Drum Ghouls at the Atlanta Pen Show for $495 before tax. This pen is very, very, excuse my language here, very fucking expensive. This is an expensive, expensive pen. I got it because I saved up and I kind of knew I wanted it. I knew I wanted it the second I touched it at the show. So I got it. But holy crap, this pen costs so much money. So much money, it's ridiculous. If you're in the market, you have the cash, get it. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you think that it is $350 better than a Lamy 2000, you're out of your mind. This pen's great. I prefer using it over the Lamy 2000. Most of the time, you know, it's fun to use different pens, but is it worth triple? No, it's not. Without a doubt, it's nowhere close to being worth triple the price. If I had to put a price on this pen, I would say $250 would be fair. Now, you have to understand you're going to pay a premium for certain things. Like I could understand paying a premium for the material. However, even a standard Pelikan M805 is pretty expensive. So his limited editions are just significantly more. And when you get up to the M1000s, you're paying a ton of money. A ton of money. So please keep that in mind. If you really, really like Pelikan, good for you. But the value ratio is just piss poor with these pens. That is the worst thing about this pen. If this pen were, like I said, $250, I recommend it every day. But I don't know, at this price, it's down to how much money you have. On to the writing sample. So again, this is a medium Pelikan nib. However, this pen writes very, very broadly. A lot more like a broad than a medium, in my opinion. But if you know anything about Pelikan, you'll know their nib grinds are usually quite a bit more broad than a lot of the competition. I normally write a little larger than this with this pen, or quite a bit larger than this with this pen, so apologies for the kind of cramped handwriting. So we'll do a normal line, a line with some pressure, and then a reverse line to the left of it. So you can see, you can definitely get some line variation out of this pen. I would not push it a lot, because it is really not made to flex, but you can. If you want more line variation, I suggest paying the extra, basically double, and getting an M1000 if you want a Pelikan pen with line variation. Those nibs are a lot more springy. But this is a pretty respectable amount, and I'm really not pressing with this pen because I don't want to have to replace it. So you can get some pretty good, I'm sure you can get a little better line variation, but don't do it because 18 karat gold is really too soft. So just please keep that in mind, and don't push this pen any farther than you're comfortable. Again, it is very wet. You do get a lot of shading. I've used it and my Lamy 2000 alternatingly for ink reviews because it puts down a lot of ink, and you can get a lot of shading with it. You can see right here, if my camera will focus, you can get a lot. I mentioned earlier that when you write it with the verse, you kind of get a stub nib look, and I'll kind of show you what I mean. Now it's fairly smooth when you do that. There's a little bit of feedback, but less than a normal stub, more than likely. But just to kind of give you an idea here, I'll do a couple cross strokes, mix with a downstroke, and you can see there's quite a bit of line variation. So if you want that kind of smaller writing with a little bit more character, you can certainly do this. It will give you a somewhat stub nib-like appearance. So this is by far the most unique reverse writing pen that I've seen. Very good pen, very nice flow, amazing nib, and interesting reverse writing. In conclusion, this is a very nice pen. It really is. It's one of my favorite pens I've ever used or ever held in my entire life. However, the price just makes it next to impossible to recommend to anyone. If you really like this material like I do, or if you're a huge fan of Pelikan pens, or if you just want a fantastic writing experience and you have money to blow on it, get it. But for most people, this is just going to be too much. I'm still more comfortable in the under $300 range, to be honest. But this is a very nice pen. I don't plan on letting it go anywhere, and I don't regret buying it. If you got it, I don't think you would either, as long as you have the money to spend. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to check out my other stuff. The videos may slow down a bit here lately. It's just been really busy, and this channel, while I do really appreciate a lot of the feedback and stuff, it's just not my main priority right now. I am still going to try to put out content for you guys, though. Thank you very, very much for watching. If you like what you've seen here, check out my other stuff. Feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.